Welcome everyone to our mid-year ApprovalMax product update webinar. We're so excited to have you here. Next slide, Justin.
Oh.
This is what we're going to cover today. Next slide, please, Justin. I'm Dee Johns, Head of Product Marketing, and I'm joined here by Justin, as I said before. Say hi, Justin.
Hi everyone. Nice to see you all.
Awesome. Next slide, please, Justin.
Okay.
Lovely. So before we begin, I've got a few quick notes about Zoom. It takes up a lot of bandwidth. So for the best experience, we recommend that you close any unnecessary programs. I just want to remind everybody that everybody who's registered will get the recording as soon as we've finished this series. So by the end of the week. We want this to be a really interactive session, so could you please drop any questions that you have into our Q&A, and our experts are online to answer them live. We'll also be running a quick poll, and your input really helps us drive the updates that we present, and we'd love you to take part in that. Next slide, please, Justin. Thank you. We have quite a few people on the call today who are considering ApprovalMax. And if you're new here to ApprovalMax, it's a powerful accounts payable and accounts receivable automation platform, and it gives you full control over all approvals. It's trusted worldwide by accountants, bookkeepers, and businesses to strengthen financial controls, all within a single platform. Now, as I said, please ask your questions in the Q&A section and we'll get to them very soon. Justin, I think I'll hand over to you for our very first update.
Yeah, thank you, Dee. Okay, so this is we've got quite a few exciting updates today. So the first thing we're going to talk about is that we've now making it easier to enter your purchase orders into ApprovalMax for ApprovalMax for Xero. So you can now just imagine you've got a sales quote from a supplier, and it's got all the details there of everything you need to put on the purchase order. You can now extract all of that detail from the purchase order, from the purchase order, and then populate it in ApprovalMax and then send it for approval. So this is really exciting.
So what if we already had a quote from a supplier and I need to turn that into a purchase order?
Yeah, so let me show you. So I'm just going to jump into Xero now. Oh, sorry, ApprovalMax now. And what we're going to do is today we're using the Xero demo company as an example. So we're going to go into the demo company, and I'm going to go and upload a purchase order, but you could technically email it in as well. Yeah, so you could email it in or bulk upload it, but I'm going to upload it now, and I'm going to use a sales quote, a sales quote from one of our suppliers here. So I've got this quote from Bayside here. So I'll expand that so you can all see it. So you can see that they've already sent me the quote. And, that would be a real pain to have to enter that in line by line into the purchase order. But all I need to do is hit confirm.
I love ApprovalMax Capture. I use it all the time.
Yeah, and you can see it's extracted the supplier name. It's the date. It's pulled the reference from the quote, and all of the line items. So it's gone. It's got the A4, the ballpoint, the stapler, the manila folders, the desk organizer, and it's done all the taxes for me. And because I've done this particular supply before, ApprovalMax Capture remembered that it's office expenses, and you can see it says suggested here. But you could change that if you wanted, if you needed to. But anyway, that's all I got to do. And I could even tick the box to email it to the supplier and just as you normally would with a purchase order, and I can send it through and then approve it. So that's a really huge win, and it's something that customers were asking for, and we've been able to deliver.
That's awesome, Justin. And as we were talking about before, what if I needed to turn that quote into a purchase order?
Yeah, well, as you saw, I was just able to upload it, and within a minute, I was able to auto extract everything.
Love it.
Okay, all right. So the next big update is you can now create credit notes inside ApprovalMax. So previously you could approve credit notes. So you could go in a zero and then submit them for approval, and then they'd sync through to ApprovalMax, and you can approve them. So that was kind of useful. Um, but now you can actually create them in ApprovalMax. And the big benefit of that is that it means you can give the ability to create credit notes to people who you wouldn't necessarily want to give the ability to create a credit note in Zero to. And you can probably imagine that you can probably imagine that with the user roles in Zero, that to allow someone to create a credit note, you basically have to give them a huge amount of access to your Zero file. So now if you want to process, supplier refunds or perhaps discounts to customers, because we're doing both accounts payable and accounts receivable, you can now do that.
The other day we were talking about this. Didn't you have a customer that wanted to do approvals for credit notes, other than the fact that we've just released it? But tell us about that client conversation you had.
Yeah, yeah. So this was the exact scenario. They currently had people doing it, but they had no control over it, and they had no approval process. So they were actually having staff going in. This was on the accounts receivable side, actually. So it was going to customers that they were kind of giving discounts or refunds and things, and it wasn't going through any kind of approval process. And I was lucky to be able to say to them, well, I've got good news for you, that we've just done this done this update. And yeah, they were really happy about that.
Awesome. And now you're going to show us exactly what you showed them, aren't you?
Well, actually, one other thing, I so to kind of borrow a line, that I know you want more. So we've also automated the entry of credit notes. So I think this is going to be particularly popular on the AP side, where a supplier would send you through the credit note in a PDF format, and you just need to enter it into your accounting system. Well, now we can do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our bill, our that purchase order, and we'll follow that through, and then we'll apply a credit note to it. So
Awesome.
we'll go in here, oops, and then go. So I've got the purchase order, approve, and then we have the and then we go to the so what we'll go and do now is we'll go and enter in our purchase order. So we'll go and create, and I'll upload it. So all you need is the PDF. So I'll use the Bayside one again. So credit note for Bayside Wholesale, and I'll go confirm. And again, just like before, it's remembered what I've done in the past and made the suggestion. So those ballpoint pens and manila folders, they were ordered by mistake and we've asked for a refund. So that can then be put through. There's also a place here to put a note for the improver, which I think, especially when you're dealing with credit notes, I think will be a pretty important feature. Because generally, when you're asking for a discount or so on, you probably need to give some justification for it. So we'll push it through, then it can go through to review, and then approved. And then once it's approved, it gets pushed into Xero. And then from Xero, you can apply it to whatever bill you need it to go to.
Nice, Justin. We actually have a question, and it's more
Mm.
around ApprovalMax in general, ApprovalMax capture rather in general. Customers want to know, will the extraction of quote details only work with ApprovalMax capture, or will the file work if it's uploaded another way?
No, it'd need to be through ApprovalMax capture to get the automation. But what I showed you there was where kind of the sort of the manual way of doing it, where you go and create the credit note and then you just upload it. But you can also email them in. We also have a bulk
Mm,
upload function as well.
yeah.
The other option is you could take a photo on your phone and upload it.
Yes.
Upload. So there's several ways you can use a ProMax capture to capture things. But I think in most cases, in most cases, you're probably either going to do the upload method or the email method. Those are the two. Those are the two main ones there.
Lovely. Thanks, Justin.
Cool. All right. So this is one for our QuickBooks Online users that we've improved bill to purchase order matching. So you can now match bills to PO during the creation phase. Um, so basically, what that means is when you're entering the bill, you'll be able to match it. Whereas previously you would have had to wait until enter the bill, then you'd go and match it after the fact. Now you can also, if you're doing a purchase order, you can actually just copy the purchase order to a bill and it'll automatically do the match. So if the bill comes in and it perfectly matches the purchase orders you have, you can save yourself some time by just copying it and doing it that way. So it just keeps everything cleaner with pre-matched bills. So let's go and have a look at that. So we'll go into our QuickBooks file. And we've got a purchase order here. So we'll copy this to a bill. And so while that'll load up in a second, but you'll see that we now have the option of actually linking it on this screen. So you didn't have that you didn't have that before. But you can see, but for the demo, just so you can see how you can link it, because I did that copying, it's already linked it. So you see how it's already automated. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to remove it, and then I'm going to link it so you can see how you can link on the screen here. So I'll go in here, tick that box, or it might be this one actually. Tick that box and go match, and you can see how you can match line items on your bill to the line item in the purchase order from this screen. So I'll put in the due date. So I'll go submit. And just so you can see how it would have worked before, what you would have had to have done before is go submit, and then you would have had to, on this screen here, do the linking at that stage. So it's an improvement of workflow and also automation there.
Thanks, Justin. Just wondering, What would be the advantage of actually matching the purchase order earlier in the process?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like a lot of people just feel a lot more comfortable doing it at the stage of entering the bill, rather than entering the bill and then having to remember to go and match it after the fact. And of course, when you are dealing with purchase orders, one of the quickest way to enter the bill is just copy the purchase order to a bill, and then just attach the source document to it, so you're not even having to do data entry at all. So, but the fact that now the matching happens automatically, that's just going to save a whole lot of time.
Yes, lovely. Thank you. There's a question here from the audience, Justin. Does the PO will also automatically mark as billed when we copy to the bill?
Yeah. So in your settings, in your workflow settings, there is a setting that you can say to do that. That at least there is a setting in Zero. To be honest, I'd have to double check if there's that same setting in QPO. But in Approval Max for Zero, one of the settings you can turn on is when you do your matching, it'll automatically update the status of the purchase order. Um, I'd have to actually double check whether or not that's the case in QPO.
Yeah, and a few of our audience want to know, is this also available for Zero?
Yeah, so build a purchase order matching works differently in Zero. It's not a line by line basis, it's based on amount. So we do have build a purchase order matching. Um, but this particular update's only for QuickBooks.
Lovely. Thank you.
Okay, so this is for our NetSuite users. So many of you may know that we do journals in both Approval Max for Zero and Approval Max for QuickBooks Online. We've now added that functionality for our NetSuite customers, and due to the sort of the kind of complexity that NetSuite users have, it's probably even more useful for NetSuite, the kind of companies that are using NetSuite. There's probably a lot of need for adjustment journals and things like that. So now you can go in and set up approval workflows for journals, which is really great. So I'm going to go and demo that to you now. So I'll go back to Approval Max. I'll switch back to my NetSuite um, demo demo company, and I'll go down to my approval workflows, and and then I'm going to go to journal entry, and so you can either create the journal in you can either create the journal in NetSuite and just do the approval in Approval Max, or you can set up requesters to create it in Approval Max. And we have the form here, and you can have a review step. You can also have as many approval steps as you want, and you could even determine who needs to approve it based on your account code, your tax, your department, your class location, or even some of the custom fields that you have in NetSuite. So you can build all those approval rules in here. And so let's go and have a look at what that looks like. So if we go and put in the journal in here, you can then go and fill in the journal as you normally would, but you can also fill in your reversal date. So if you need to reverse it, you can put in the reversal date, tick the reversal box, populate populate the journal here. If you need to attach a file, you can, and it'll all and then it'll go to whoever needs to approve it, and then once it's approved, it'll automatically be posted to NetSuite.
Lovely. Justin, we seem to have a lot of questions about the bill to PO matching. So before we move on, there's
Yeah.
a question from a customer. Carla would like to know, when the PO is fully allocated, will it still appear on the list of POs to match a bill into it, or will it be removed from the list of POs to be matched?
Yeah, so when you close the PO, it removes it from that list. So that's how you kind of keep that list not being chaotic is um is you close the PO and then it'll those ones won't appear.
Brilliant. Thanks, Justin.
All right.
No other questions, but please keep them coming through in the Q&A section, everyone.
All right, this is a big one. Account groups. You may not have noticed it, but it's in your ApprovalMax for Xero right now. So you can now create groups of accounts, and this is really going to simplify your workflow management. So you can add the groups to either like requesters, your review steps, your order approvals, or your approval matrix. And the beauty of it is you can create one group and apply it to multiple different people, approvers or reviewers or requesters. But then if you change the group, the group changes for everybody. So it allows you to kind of make the management of account groups really simple. Whereas sometimes that can get a bit messy when you're
Mhm.
trying to build your delegation of financial authority. So let's go and have a look. So we've got to jump back into Xero, and we'll go to where is it? The demo company. Okay, and then we'll go to the approval matrix, approval workflows. Go to bill workflows, and then you've got this little cylinder here. So you want to click on that cylinder, and you'll notice I've already created a group travel expenses, but let's go and create a new one. We'll create a motor vehicle expenses or motor vehicle. We'll go create, and we'll go motor, and then let's see if there's fuel in here. Okay, there's actually only the one in that case, um, but but uh, anyone who's worked with a lot of chart of accounts knows that many companies have like huge numbers of like motor vehicle expenses, or in our case, if I go back to the travel example that I've done previously, we have both travel national and travel international. So if you
Um,
want to give people a group of accounts, you can. So you just build these groups, and then what you can then do is go into either your approver matrix or your requester matrix. You can come in here, and let's say we only want someone to be able to submit bills that relate to travel. Maybe that's the only thing they need to do in their job. Instead of them seeing a huge list of the chart of accounts, they can just you could just give them the account groups that they would need for their job. So they might need both travel and motor vehicle, and you could just give them those. So instead of seeing 100 accounts, they might only see five. So that's a huge that's going to really reduce the likelihood of people putting things to the wrong account code.
Absolutely, Justin. And already Bruna thinks it's an amazing feature, and I love this feature. It just makes it so much easier for your chart of accounts. We've got a customer question, and I've also got a question. Would you use this account group feature for cost centers to make sure that staff only create POs with accounts against their budget?
Okay, so at the moment, we only offer this for account codes. So that is a limitation at this stage. Um, with your but what you can do is just to go back to the requester matrix, you can currently do it just by adding in the tracking categories.
Ah,
So you could just do it like this. But in the future, I can imagine you being able to create groups of, your cost centers
yes.
that you could then do this, what I'm doing here with account codes, but for your cost centers, or perhaps for suppliers as well.
Yes, and I know, Justin, there are other things coming out for this particular feature on the roadmap, but not for a while. So there will be other new things coming out for this feature. Justin, what happens if a new account code is added to the chart of accounts in Xero?
Yeah, okay. So we sync with Zero pretty much all the time. So they would just flow through. But in that example, this is where it's really good, is that, let's say I did add another motor vehicle expenses, rather than having to go into every single one of these. Let's say I'm using, I've got people who have, like, been given it as a request. I've got multiple people who are approving based on that group. Um, I'd have to go and change that for every single instance.
Yeah.
Whereas now, I'd only need to come in and add the new chart of account to the group, and then everyone who's been assigned that group would get the new chart of account on their list. So yeah, I mean, I can see some of the comments coming in, and I completely agree with this is going to make keep managing your workflow so much easier.
So much better, isn't it? And Dale,
Mm.
just to answer your question, this is only available for Xero at the moment and on advanced and premium plans only. And if you're on the standard plan, you won't have this feature at the moment, Dale. So, and if you're on the other plans that I mentioned, and you can't see it, then maybe contact support.
Yeah.
Thanks, Justin.
Well, just on that note too, is that there are, in the last year or so, we've added a lot of really good functionality to
Yeah.
Advanced, like the review step, the edit on approvals, whole bunch of things.
Yes.
And if you look in your product there, there's usually an option there to try for 14 days.
Yes.
The more advanced features, so maybe it's something to consider.
Yes, that's actually a really good point. The all features trial, Justin. That's great. Just before we move on to remove the
Mm.
next update, removing bills, can an account be assigned to multiple account codes or only one?
Sorry, like, as in, can an account be in multiple groups?
Yes, I think
Yeah,
that's what the question is saying.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. It can, yeah, yeah. Absolutely it can. You can have an account in more than one group. Um, yeah, so yeah, because you are gonna have crossover. I think, in a lot of
Yes.
cases. Yeah,
Yes. Awesome. Thanks, Justin. Oh, look, before we go on to the next one, we've
yeah.
got some praise from Jess. We love the review step here, especially with the number of bills we have flowing through. It's great to be able to have an AP staff review these before sending out to approvers. That's lovely.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's sort of especially you combine it with capture. You've got the bills coming in,
Yes.
they're getting pre-entered. The data entry, but you still need to review it. So you goes to review, review it, then it goes out to your approvers.
That's awesome. Thanks, Jess, for the shout out. Our product team will love that. Over to you for the next update.
Yeah, so this is a big one. You can now remove bills from batch payments. So, basically, when it goes to, this is part of edit on approvals. Edit on approvals, that when it goes to the approver, you can now remove bills from the batch and then approve the batch. So basically, imagine you've got 50 bills in a batch, and then And then like the director, the general manager has some sort of knowledge that no, we don't want to be paying this supplier. Um, and you can imagine all kinds of reasons, all kinds of reasons um, they can what they would have had to do before is they would have had to reject the whole batch, send it back to the request person who created it. They would have to update it, then it would have to be submitted again. So that's holding up your whole AP process. Now they can just go and remove the bill from the batch, and then approve the rest of the batch, and then perhaps that bill can be paid in a future batch. And the way people often use batch payments, this is really helpful because often you have a management level that don't want to approve individual bills. So they don't want to be involved in the bill approval process, but they want the final sign off. And what a lot of companies do is that they're doing the individual approvals of bills, getting them to the awaiting payment stage in Zero. But then before the bills get paid, they're creating like a spreadsheet. They're telling the director, the general manager, all the bills that are going to get paid that week, and that takes a real lot of time. And you could do the same thing in Approval Max with a click of a few buttons. But now with this update, it's gotten even better because now they can easily just remove a couple bills from a batch. So we'll go have a look at that now. Unless did you have any questions before I?
No, I wanted to see the demo just as much as the audience does,
Okay,
Justin.
fantastic.
I've
All
been
right,
waiting for this
so
one.
okay, so what we're gonna do, I'll just make sure I have enough bills to approve. So we'll go into create the batch. We'll discard that. Actually, sorry, I'll take a step back. I'll show you how you turn this feature on first. So,
Lovely.
what the first thing you got to do to use this feature is go into your approval workflow screen, go into the zero batch payment workflow screen, and then what you can do is on your approval step, you can come in here and you can see you've got both Ali and I are both allowed to approve. And I've ticked the box batch payment line removal. So that's already done. So now if I go into a batch, we'll be able to demo that. So let's go in. We'll pick the payment date of Friday. We'll choose our bank account. We'll put in a reference number. Your screen, if you're in New Zealand, will look a little bit different because you've got your different things that get sent to the bank there. Okay, so we've only got the one bill. I might just quickly approve a couple bills in here, just so we can have more than one bill in the batch.
That's
So
nice. We're getting more demos.
yeah, sorry, I thought I had more than one bill to approve, but I've only got the one. So I'll go select from.
You're not a very busy fella then, are you, Justin?
That's right. That's right. Yeah. All right. So all right,
That was
that
super
one.
quick.
Yeah, I just copied an existing one just so we would have more than one bill in there. So we'll go in here. All right, so now we've got two bills. So I can tick the two bills, go add, and then so basically, just to kind of recap on batch payments, you as the person creating the request can review it on this screen, and then you can even change the amount that you want to pay in here. But we'll go submit, and then um, and then in here you can the person approving the batch can view them side by side. And let's say that they see something they don't want to pay, they can then go to edit and remove the batch. But what I'll do is, because I'm also the requester, my screen's different. I'm going to log out and log in as Ali, just so you can see how how it would look if you were just an approver. So
Nice. And as you're doing that, I've also got a question,
sure.
which I'll wait until after you've now that was
Yeah,
so quick.
yeah, that yes, it was that was quick, took quite less time than I thought it would. Okay, so I've come in here and you see how it's different. He's got a big edit button,
Mm.
whereas my one was editing it as a requester. So if we go, but if I edit as an approver, um, I can actually come in here and then I can actually like remove the cube land batch in here, go save and approve. And now he's approved that batch, having removed the that item, that bill.
Awesome. Justin, we've got a question from the audience. What version is the batch payment feature on? Is that only for Xero?
Yeah, that's right. It's only in the zero version and it's in the premium plan. So, but if you're already doing batch payments, then you already have this functionality in there because you're already on a premium plan.
Fantastic.
But you know, like I feel like if you're anyone who's listening today, if you're spending a lot of time creating a spreadsheet for your board or your general manager or director of when it comes time to pay bills, consider going to a premium plan so you can do batch payments.
Justin, we've got another question. Will the requester be notified if the approver removes a payment?
Um, That's a good question. That's a good. They'll be notified that the batch was approved, and then they'll be able to see that that happened. They'll be
Hmm.
able to see, and then we also have a feature called version histories, which we talked about in our last product update, where you can
Yes.
actually see the changes in the versions. But I don't know if we actually, I don't think we actually flag that, oh, such and such removed a bill. I don't think we, it'll be in the audit trail, but I don't think we email you about that.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Uh, all right, so let's talk about ApprovalMax Pay. So ApprovalMax Pay is currently available in the UK, and we were just talking about batch payment. So this is like a version of batch payments where it actually pays the bill, like it. So you don't have to export out a batch file, upload it to your bank, go through your bank's, you know, two-factor authentication, do all that kind of stuff. It actually does everything without you leaving ApprovalMax, using open banking, which is really cool. And and you can now approve on your mobile device. So usually the person who approves the batch is often um, somebody pretty busy. And you know, if you're in, say, I don't know, like the building and construction industry, that person may be on the road a lot. So so being able to approve the batch for payment and pay it in mobile is a big deal. So we've got some screenshots of that here. So the batch payment comes through, you can approve, you can then see the bills, and then it'll let you know that it's been paid, and it'll also tell you it's got our like little traffic light system in there that you can see on the last slide, where it says you know, you're paying this contact for the first time. So you can it even, and you see one of them has a red has a red one that indicates that the payment details have been it means that the payment details have been changed since last time. So
Mm.
yeah, so that's also visible on the mobile, which is fantastic.
That's great, isn't it? Justin, I know we've got another update on ApprovalMax Pay, but there's quite a few questions coming through on the last update that we have. So Wendy would like to know, so the removed bill goes back into waiting for approval?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, it would go back to it would go back into your um oh no, sorry. The bill still remains approved, but it would just removes it from the bat. So it'd be sitting in your awaiting payment, for you to add to a future batch. So I guess if you wanted to unapprove it, you might need to then you might need to go and cancel it at that stage,
Yeah.
or
And
you or use the on. Sorry, yeah.
yes, sorry, Justin.
Yeah, no, actually you'd cancel it because you've already approved it. So technically it's already gone through the approval
Mm.
process. So if there's something wrong with it, you'd actually need to cancel the bill, can't void the bill and then yeah, and do that.
Restart, sure. Lionel wants to know if we pay multiple invoices to one supplier, Xero currently lists all of the invoices. Will ApprovalMax group them into one line?
Um it depends on what you're using. So if you're using batch payments, no, it'll do them separately, but you can on screen you can kind of group them and things, but it actually treats them separately. However, if you're using um, ApprovalMax Pay, um, it actually does lump them together. You can lump them together. That's a feature we released in our last product update because potentially that could
Yes.
save you on like transfer fees and things like that. So yeah, it has that capability.
And then we've got another more of a shout out for Nudge, which we talked about in the last update, which is fantastic. And we will talk about it in another couple of slides. But June says Nudge works really well as well. They authorize it straight away and then get nudged. They get nudged to authorize it, and then that helps them, gives them a virtual tap on the shoulder so they can
Exactly.
authorize it. Awesome.
Yeah, well, let's not steal the thunder of our latest slide.
No, that's right. Let's wait until we
um,
get there. So
yeah,
over to
yeah.
you, Justin.
Okay, so this is another update to ApprovalMax Pay, um, which is we're now built in where it confirms the payee with what's in the zero file. Um, ensure payments are sent to the correct account, verify account name, number, sort code, entity type before transfer, reduces the risk of fraud or misdirection of payment. So it's another thing, a bit kind of similar to that traffic light system that I talked
Mm.
about before, where what it's doing here is it's comparing the bank details you've entered in, because with ApprovalMax Pay we're storing the bank details, um, and it's comparing it with what's in your zero file. So you're kind of that's giving you like a double check that that things are consistent. So yeah, that's a big win. And finally, Nudge. So yeah, this has probably been the most popular feature we've shipped last time. So you can send, but now it's widely available. You can send one-click reminders. I think last time we hadn't released it and everyone wanted it. That's right, Dee, that you got
They did.
inundated with requests.
We did after as we were doing the update, and it was still in beta, and people are saying, I can't see it in my account. Where is it? I want to use it. So we're so excited. We're so
Yeah,
excited
yeah,
to go
yeah,
live.
yeah. So it's live. and remind me, it's available to everyone, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Everybody,
that's
all
yeah,
GLs.
yeah, all GLs and all plans. So you can send
Exactly
reminders,
right.
and it also adds it to the audit trail too. So you also have a
Yes.
record that you've nudged people. So let's jump into I've got a oh, I'm logged in as Ali. That's why it looks different.
Mm. And
Okay.
as you're logging back into somebody else, Carly said, best feature, love it. I think it's
Yeah.
awesome. I actually got nudged the other day myself, which was because I had completely missed it. So I love it too, Kylie.
Yeah, it's human nature. We kind of become numb to all of our
Yes.
notifications. And yeah, like this is just another you try to build in all the things like the deadlines and the reports and do all of that kind of thing. Like you try to do all of that, but sometimes you still need to chase people up. And like for example, to do that, if we go into our QBO and we go to so you can see you've actually got to wait 24 hours before nudging somebody. So the one I did earlier won't let me
Mm.
nudge somebody. But if I go to requires my review here, I've got one that's more than 24 hours old, and I can click nudge reviewers, and they all just got a notification to tell them to go and approve this bill. And you can see down here that all of those reviewers just got a notification that they need to come in and approve this bill.
So,
Yes.
AI is a really hot topic for everybody at the moment, and we would just like to know your approach to how AI works for you. So, what your approach to AI is. So, are you an early adopter? Are you all over it? Have you dabbled with it? You're waiting to see how it goes, actively avoiding it?
All right.
Okay, so we have come to the end of our, just get that off the screen, but we've come to the end of our today's session. Thank you very much for joining us. And I've just got a couple of reminders for everybody. Everybody who's registered will get a recording of this call by the end of this week. If you're still considering ApprovalMax and you're a trialist at the moment, we run weekly demos, Justin in our region runs weekly
Mm,
demos where you can see the platform in action. Thank you very much for joining us. And thank you, Justin, for taking us through all those great features.
no problem. Thank you everyone for coming along.